Hey everyone, in this video we'll be downloading Anaconda distribution and setting up Conda and Python to work from command line. Anaconda is an open source distribution that comes with Python and R programming languages, as well as a lot of other data science features right out of the box. For example, it comes with Conda, which allows us to download and maintain external Python packages. It also allows us to create and maintain virtual environments. For example, if you have multiple data science projects with their own Python versions and package versions, virtual environments would help you isolate and containerize those projects with their own respective versions. In order to get started with download, we'll just Google search Anaconda Python. And one of the first links would take you to the download pages. You can either directly download from here or you can scroll down to select specific version according to your operating system. In my case, it is a 64-bit Windows operating system, so I'll just select this 64-bit graphical installer here. And as you can see, the executable has started downloading, so I'll just wait for it to finish. Okay, so now that the download is done, we can go to the downloads folder and double click on this executable, and we'll wait while it opens the installation wizard. Okay, so the installation wizard is open. Now we can select next. You can read through the license agreement. I would not. I'll just select I agree. In this case, we'll be installing this just for our own user profile, but if you want to install it for all the users, you can select the second option. Select next. And make sure whichever drive you are downloading this to has enough space, otherwise it would slow down your system. In my case, I'll just I'll download this to D drive. And select next. Okay, you can uncheck all these options. Okay, we will especially discuss about this option, add Anaconda 3 to my path environment variable, and this one, register Anaconda 3 as my default Python 3.11. But for now, we'll just keep everything unchecked and we'll start our installation. Right, and let us wait for it to finish. Okay, so the installation is complete. We can select next. We select next and we can uncheck these two options and click on finish. Now that Anaconda is downloaded on our machine, let us set up our command line to work with it. So we can invoke Conda commands from the command line. So you can use the conventional command prompt or you can use PowerShell. In this case, I'll be using PowerShell. So you can select Windows PowerShell and it will take you to the terminal. As you can see, the terminal is open right here. So let us try typing some commands on our PowerShell terminal. For example, if we type Conda version, it is giving us this error that Conda is not recognized as the name of a commandlet, function, script file, etc. You can also try typing Python version and it's telling us that it can't find it. Or if you try typing Python, it will redirect us to this Microsoft store. So this is one of the new things added in Microsoft, where initially what used to happen is if you type Python, it will give you the exact same error that we got here, telling us that it is not recognized as the name of commandlet, function or script file. But in this case, it is redirecting us to this Microsoft store so we can download it from there. Obviously, we won't do that. Also, we want to disable this feature so it doesn't conflict later when we add our Python location to our path variable. So in order to do that, let us go to settings and you can search for app execution and select this option, manage app execution aliases. You can go to app execution aliases here, and as you scroll down, you'll be seeing these two options right here. For app installer for your python.exes. Uncheck both of these boxes and that should suffice. So now we should not see it being redirected to Microsoft Store. Instead, it will give us the exact same error that we got here. So if we type Python here, we are getting what we expected to get. So we have both Conda as well as Python executable that came with Anaconda downloaded in our system, yet we cannot run them on our command line. So this is where we'll be adding these locations to our path variables. Before we do that though, let us try running these commands with the exact locations for this executable, so you understand what we are trying to do here. So for example, instead of running conda, which will just give us that error, we'll instead try to run that with its exact location. So in my case, I downloaded this in my D drive, right? So I'll go to D drive and I'll go to Anaconda. So this is the path where I downloaded the Anaconda executables in my local machine. If you see here, directly under that location is my Python executable, and this is what I'm trying to trigger when I'm calling this command from my PowerShell. So let us try calling that executable with this location now. So if we do that, in this case now it's not giving us that error because we have already defined, we have directed our command line to search for Python executable in this exact location. So it's able to do that. You can write, you can print hello world and it's working. We can now exit out of this. You can do the same thing with conda also, but one thing to keep in mind is your conda executable isn't directly located under this location, it's rather located under scripts folder. So this is where your Anaconda executable is located. So we can select this path and we can run this conda command. In this case, it's recognizing the command and it's giving us a mini help page with all the options and commands that go along with it. So when we are trying to add this location to a path variable, this is what we are trying to simplify. So instead of running this entire locations, we can simply call Python and conda, and our system would look under that path variable, whatever locations we have defined, and it will execute it if it's able to find it. Otherwise, it will give us that error. So in order to edit your path variable, you can go to your search box and type environment variables, and it will give you the options. One of my heuristics is to never make any changes to system environment variables unless there is a reason to. By default, always make changes to your own user profile. Also, if you are working from your company laptop, you won't have admin privileges to make any changes to system variables. So we can select edit environment variables for your own account, and it opens this window. As you can see, we have path variable here. You can click edit. Right now, there's only one location under it. We'll be adding two locations, one for Python executable and another one for conda executable here. Right, so this would be our scripts. But you can add new location right here. And keep in mind, here we don't need to add our full location right till executable, right? We only add our folder location where the executable is located without the executable. And along with this, we'll also need to add the path where our Python is located, right? Which is directly under Anaconda download location. Okay, so now that we have added these two locations to our path variable, in fact, let us move our Python location above our scripts location. And you can click OK, you can click OK. And before this takes effect, you'll have to close and restart your terminal. So go to PowerShell again. Okay, and now if you type conda, see, so it recognized it and we didn't need to input full location here. And you can try with Python, it will also recognize it. You can try to print hello world and it will work. You can exit from here. Okay, so now we have added both Python and conda to a path variable. They are set up to work from command line. So an important thing to remember about how path variables work is, let us go back to our environment variables and select path. So the directories or locations that are there higher up in this list would be the ones which would have higher precedence. What that means is if you have multiple versions of Python installed on your machine, the one which appears first on this list would be the one which would be triggered when you invoke this Python command. Let me show what I mean by that. So I've already had another Python version, Python 2.7 installed on my machine. You don't need to install it, you can just follow along. As you can see, this is the path for my Python executable, right? So if I add this to my path variables, okay, and I click on OK, I can restart my terminal. And if I type Python, right, it's still the same Python that is getting triggered because it's higher up in that list. Now let us try to change that. Let us try to change the order between the two Python versions. Right, so I'll just move this up and click on OK. I can restart my terminal. Okay, now if I invoke Python command, see, it has triggered the 2.7 version and not the 3.11 that I downloaded from Anaconda. And you can print hello world to make sure everything is working correctly. And because this is Python 2.7 version, this syntax would also work. Right, so both of this would work because it's an older version. Another aspect to remember here is, if you want to know the precise location for the Python executable that you're using, you can also use the inbuilt sys module for Python, misspelled import, and you can use the attribute executable of the sys module and it will give you the exact location for the executable that you're using. Okay, let us try that with our other Python version. So we can go to environment variables for our own account. On the path, we can bring this down and select OK. We can restart our terminal. Okay, this is the Python 3.11 version. We can import sys module and we can access the executable attribute, and it gives us the exact location for which interpreter we are using. Right, so this is useful when you have multiple versions of Python on your machine and you want to be sure as to which version you're using. And the version that you want to use is, if it's not being used, then it's likely it's lower in precedence in the list of your path variables. So you might have to rearrange the position like we just did in order to use this one instead of the older version. Also, if you want to check out your path variable from your PowerShell itself, instead of going to UI, you can simply run this command and it will give you all the locations that you have configured. Right, and if you check this out, you will see your Python locations right here. So this one is for python.exe, and then we also have one for scripts, and this is a one for the older version. Okay, so that wraps it up. In the next video, we'll be setting up our IDE of choice, which would be VS Code. Thanks for watching this.